Rambo isn't about war, it's about what war does to a man after it's over. So naturally, Hollywood has decided to make a prequel about him being great at war, with a rom-com lead, superhero writers, and a director who wants kids to go play Rambo in the woods. And somehow, Sylvester Stallone only showed up when the whole thing was basically finished. This isn't just unnecessary, this might completely miss the point of the original story. Let's unfold the nonsense. Rambo as a prequel. That alone should raise an eyebrow, because First Blood was never about how impressive Rambo was in Vietnam. It was about what came after, a man who comes home and finds there's no place for him anymore. That's the story. So when you hear we're doing a Rambo origin story, you've got to ask why. So here's what we know so far. Young Rambo in Vietnam, played by Noah Centineo, directed by Jalmari Helander, written by the team behind Black Adam, and Sylvester Stallone joins at the very end as executive producer. Already, that's a mix that doesn't quite sit right. But the real issue, tone. Rambo is not a how he became awesome story. He's not a superhero origin. He's not Batman. He's not Iron Man. He's a warning, a consequence, a man shaped and broken by war. And the original film keeps that mystery intact. You don't need to see Vietnam, because you can feel it in him. Let's talk about the look. In First Blood, Stallone looks normal, lean, functional, weathered, like someone who survives, not someone who hits the gym 6 days a week. Now, we've got a fully shredded, modern action physique. That's not young Rambo. That's peak Rambo from the sequels. They've skipped the journey, started at the end point, and that matters, because visually, you've already told the audience this guy is a hero. But Rambo was never meant to feel like that. Now look, Noah Centineo might surprise people. It happens. But right now, the image doesn't match the role. Rambo isn't charming, he isn't polished, he isn't likeable in that way. He's distant, quiet, fractured. You don't lean into him, you observe him. That's a very different energy. Then we've got David Harbour as Trautman. Great actor, no issue there. But here's the problem. This is supposed to be a prequel, a younger version, and yet he's basically the same age as Trautman in the original. So timeline-wise, it feels off. Visually, it feels off. And once you start noticing that, you don't stop. Now, the director, Jalmari Helander, made Sisu, which is fun, over the top, almost mythic, one man versus everyone. But that tone does not belong in Rambo, because Rambo isn't mythic. He's grounded, painfully grounded, and when you start leaning into adventure, spectacle, fun war sequences, you're drifting away from what made the original work. Then we get to the writers, same team behind Black Adam, and that's where alarm bells really start ringing, because that film was all about spectacle over substance, myth over character, power over consequence, and Rambo needs the exact opposite. This one is big. Sylvester Stallone was not involved until the film was basically done. Think about that. For over 40 years, Rambo has been Stallone, and now he turns up at the end as executive producer. That doesn't feel like creative control, that feels like damage control. Prequels can work, but only when they add something meaningful. Here, what are we gaining? We already know he survives. He becomes who he becomes. He ends up broken. So what's left? Just watching him be good at war? That's not tension. That's not character development. That's just, well, it's just content. If you really wanted to explore Rambo, you go deeper into reintegration, isolation, society versus veterans, psychological damage. That's the story. That's the core, not jungle set pieces. Look, it could surprise people if they lean into trauma, moral conflict, loss, and avoid turning him into a walking action figure. There's a chance, but right now, everything we're hearing suggests the opposite. This feels like a film that misunderstands the character, chases modern trends, and ignores what made the original powerful. And that's always risky, because when you strip away the meaning, you're left with just the surface. And Rambo was never about the surface. What do you think? Am I being too harsh? Or does this feel like it completely misses the point? And more importantly, do we even need a Rambo prequel?